What's going on, world? Shout out to the subscribers of the channel and those who managed to hang around with us. This is the late edition, the late hour show. And today's topics, we're going to talk about the Cowboys in general and the overall process of who are the Cowboys and what are their main goals or main attractions for this off season. I'm going to put in a mix too as well of the Josh Norman scenario and the D Lawrence as well. I guess they call him the Tank Lawrence. My whole scenario of this is for the simple strength. If you are a NFL player and you know that you are being tested constantly, you know that for sure that they do random drug tests and you make thousands. Matter of fact, I push that back. You make millions of dollars and you want to smoke weed or you want to take performance enhancement drug, you done already made it to the league. If anytime anybody would want to take performance enhancement drug, I would say take it in the middle school or even high school, but I don't even promote that because that's forms of cheating and stuff like that. You should have the mindset that even if you want to take a Tylenol, you might want to double check with the management team, the trainer and staff, because you want to maximize your opportunity to play this sport. It's not a guaranteed sport to anyone, nor anybody who think that they can come in and smoke weed or do even domestic violence type of stuff, scenarios of you fighting a woman, or you go out to a club and you have a good time and you toss too many back. And you think that you're supposed to keep your job and we're supposed to sit back and say, yay, way to go, clap your hands, he's smoking weed and he beating up women, and he's still supposed to play his sport and he's still supposed to be able to get a second, the thirds and fourth chances. Now, I'm not trying to cast any aspersion just on Tank Lawrence, the Greg Hardys of the world with the domestic violence, or the Randy Gregorys of the world. But if you feel like that is not your sport, then you don't have to play the sport if you don't want to abide by their rules and regulations. In life, there's always a regulation. There's always a speed limit to life. And either there's two choices when you're driving, actually three. But the first choice is you can abide by the rules, or if you know that the speed limit is 65 and you prefer to go 85. Now, granted, you may get away with it. Or if you're like me, if you grew up in a small town, you might know the cop that pulls you over. And you could do a favor for the cop and say, hey, I'm son of such and such. And they'll look out for you and they'll do you a little favor. But that even in that moment of time, that favor will run out too as well. And he will say, hey, I have to give you the ticket this time. Because you're not understanding. You're not grabbing hold to what the favor really is. The favor is only for me to help you out and not derail you, so that the next time, or the possibility of you losing out on an opportunity, that's what the favor is about. It's not the fact that I can do it and get away with it. The favor is only for if I was to speed, or if I was to go over if I was to bend the law just a little bit and manage to get away with it. Then the favor is a lesson and mixed with a little blessing for me not to repeat that particular action. Now, the NFL have granted a lot of favor to these athletes of the world, especially for my Cowboys. It's not the fact that if when you do this particular heinous crime, or if you do this particular smoking of the weed, or taking a performance enhancement drug, or beating up your wife or something like that. It's not the fact that you can do it and still play. That's not the point. The point is you must learn from your mistakes. And a lot of times people get bad decisions mixed up with mistakes. That is not a mistake of domestic violence. It's not a mistake. That's a bad decision. You need help. You have problems. Smoking a joint or a blunt is not a mistake. That's a bad decision. And what we would do in society and in this world of realities, we would say such and such, Joe Blow, Gregory John, I can't say this guy's name, got too many freaking first names. Randy Gregory made a mistake. And see, even with that, we giving him a pass. What you need to say is this guy has a bad decision temperament. Just like when you take a risk like that and it don't pan out, and the guy still managed to do drugs, or the simple strength of Greg Hardy still managing to not saying the right thing, not showing the right level of contrition. Those are not mistakes. Those are bad decisions. And with those bad decisions develop, and it grows like a cancer, and it leaches on to someone else, and they say, wait a minute, Greg Hardy made that decision. Randy Gregory made that decision. Tank Lawrence made that decision. Orlando Scandrick did it last year. He was only suspended for 2 games. I can just get away with it. I know when they're going to randomly drug test me. There's time out for all of this, my Cowboys friends, or my Cowboys fans out there. And the rudiment of the word fans is fanatics, meaning that we pay our hard-earned money. And if you're not paying your money, you're paying your hard-earned emotions. And you're putting it all in a box. And you're saying, I'm going to root for this particular team. In return, what you're supposed to get in return is a little joy of us winning, or a little joy of a possibility. Now, there's a famous quote that says, when there's hope in the future, there's power in the presence. Meaning that when Tom Brady steps into the lineup, the hope for Tom Brady, of course I'm talking about the Patriots, he's one of the top quarterbacks out there, is that when Tom Brady steps into a room, or when he steps into the pocket, that offensive line, who was considered to be a C grade, now bumps up to an A. Or that wide receiver who normally drop passes and graded out as a D, elevate his game to a C plus. That's what leadership does. And that's what management does too as well. When you have managers put in place, you can have that one worker who usually slack off on his job, but now he's saying, wait a minute, I'm going to do this for Lawrence, because I know for sure this boss right here, he demands a certain presence when he step into this room. Now, do the Cowboys have that? I don't know. I'm not in their particular locker room. But from my perspective, from my viewpoint, I don't see that at all. We don't have the Ray Lewises in our locker room. Now, we do have these clean-cut players like the Sean Lees of the world and the Jason Wittens of the world. And to a certain degree, we have Tony Romo that can push that element of respect into the particular team, but it's not to an element whereas when Greg Hardy is just about to go into boiling point and hit the clipboard out of his hand, he's not thinking of Tony Romo, nor is he thinking of a Dez. Or when Randy Gregory is rolling the blunt up in his hand, rolling it as tight as he can, I'm telling on myself, but rolling the blunt as tight as he can, and right before he light it, he don't have that voice in his head talking about, hey, we got to do better. We cannot smoke this joint because I need you in the fourth quarter. I need you in the fifth game. I need you to take that pressure. I need for you to put that pressure on the quarterback, the opposition. That's what leadership does. Leadership holds each and every one accountable. And when you begin to see the unique thing about life in general, this is the unique thing about it, is that when you do something for yourself and when you leave, that goes with you. It doesn't leave behind. But when you do something for someone else, that stays, So what I'm saying is, in life, that's why even the Bible says better to give than receive, right? Or if you go to fundraisers or you go to any places where there's a multitude of people giving, then they are receiving something back in return, because it's measured from the heart. And when you're talking about leadership altogether, that's what's falling apart with my Cowboys. I don't think even if we were able to sign Josh Norman or whatever his name is, number 24 from the Panthers, now with our rivalries with the Redskins, who got a hell of a player, now that they can just concentrate on one half of the field, and they still got some. They glaring hole. Their biggest need was the defensive back, right? They needed somebody to. I believe they had some makeshift guy out there who used to be a wide receiver or something like that, playing in the secondary last year. But they won the division 9-7 or something like that. So now they got a staple. Now they got something that they can lean on. They got Josh to be their cornerback. Now I don't know if it fits the scheme or what have you, but one can argue now that they're a team to be not to take kindly of. They managed to have a good defensive player. I think his name is Galette or something like that. But neither here nor there. If Josh was able to somehow come to the Cowboys, would we be in a better situation than we were last year? One could argue. I would say yes. 2 or 3 of the games that I watched last year, we lost the game at the last 30 seconds of the game because of blown coverages and this sort of thing. Our guys are not playing comfortable. Our guys are not playing to the max capacity, and that falls on lines on coaching. That falls on lines of leadership. Leadership goes beyond of what type of skill set you have. It goes with the knowledge. Staying focused. And one thing that you can argue this offseason, Cowboys have not been focused. What are they focusing on? What brought to my attention was the Saint game, when the linebacker was hurt or what have you. He tried to limp off the field. There's 2 instances that should have happened. Someone who's in leadership role should have said, hey, I got a man down. We can't let Drew Brees step back and pass this ball, I'm gonna call timeout. That's one instance that should have happened. The second instance is the coach should realize that, hey, this guy is injured. Let me go ahead and sacrifice the timeout. Could they give me 2 times out in the second half, or not in the second half, but in the overtime process? Somebody should have had that foresight to say, hey, timeout. In the third instance, the player himself should have just laid down, and it would have been forced a mandatory injury timeout. But I'm saying all this to say that falls in the lines of leadership. That's falls in the lines of studying and learning your craft. But when you have players who smoking weed, taking performance enhancement drugs, giving ESPNs of the world and the Sports Center of the world ammunition, the right to break down the Cowboys nation and break down us as fans, to say that we are the worst fan base in the world, the Stephen A. Smiths of the world. You're putting words in their mouth. They don't even have to study to talk about the Cowboys. That's so pathetic. And all Jerry Jones got to do is just think. Get you some leadership in there. Get you somebody who's going to hold each and every last one player accountable. I'm not talking about fancy names on a t-shirt. I'm not talking about a dummy, fake mannequin that's in each of the player locker rooms. I'm talking about somebody that will go knee deep in somebody for being 15 minutes late, or smelling like. Look, I've been around people who smoke. You can smell that, You've been around people who drink. You can see the glossy eyes, or the red eyes. You can see those things. And yet, you're supposed to be able to hold each and every player accountable. You look the player in their eyes and say, hey, why are you here? What is your goal? What do you want? This is a famous quote: if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time and your peace and your sleep. If all of your desires of it makes you quite mad, that you don't get tired of it, and it makes you hold everything tawdry and cheap for it. If life itself seems empty and useless without it, and all that you scheme and dream is about it, if you'll gladly go out and sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it, that's supposed to be the Super Bowl. If you'll just gladly go out and sweat for that thing and fight for it and just work all you can for it, then you will host a trophy. And I believe deep down in my heart that is what the Cowboys really missing. They missing that guy that get it in their face and say, hey, you smoke another blunt, you smoke another one. And all this hard work that I'm doing, all these bench presses I'm doing, all this studying game film I'm doing, I'm personally gonna see you, because you got too much talent to just throw it all away. That's just the bottom line of everything. Why are you here? Are you here to play games? Are you here to make money? Are you here to just passing time by? That's what a true leader would look at each of those players in the eyes and ask, why are you here? If this is just something for entertainment, and that's what they need to do. I'm tired of seeing my Cowboys in this type of situation, this type of shape. It makes no sense. It absolutely don't. We got too much skills. We got leaving too much on the field. Come on, Tank Lawrence. For sakes, you even got my name in you, man. You are Lawrence, man. For anything, you're supposed to be laying down the law. You're a disgrace as a player. You are a man, I'm not going to say the rest, but you're worrisome as a player, as a person too as well. I have to say that as a person. You and Randy Gregory. And last year, Greg Hardy. I put you guys as a non-trustworthy player, regardless of the scenario, regardless of the facts, regardless of the subjects. The fact of the matter is, you let your team down. All on you. And just the bottom line of it. You can't shake that off. You missing opportunities. You drop everything down just for a hit of a blunt or a pill to get your biceps bigger. When if you want it bad enough, you could have just went out and fight for it yourself and studied the playbook. But yet and still, we are the America's team. We are the land of second, third, and fourth and fifth opportunities, right? I might be wrong. I may be the one, right? They don't know anything. But neither here nor there. That's my talk for today. If you like what I said or if you disagree, leave a comment down below in the box. But altogether, if you like this channel, give that thumbs up a chance. And I will see you on the other side. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. My name is Lawrence Thomas, and I'm out. Peace until I see you on the other side. Oh, one other thing. I like to leave with this quote. When the end comes for me, let it find me conquering a new mountain, not sliding down a old one. Jim Rohn. Peace. I'm out.